Imagine waking up the morning after a really tough workout, a long hike, or even just a super busy day out in the summer heat. Your muscles feel like they are literally made of lead.
Yeah, that heavy feeling.
Right, and your head is just pounding with this dull ache. You feel a strange twitch in your calf, and honestly, despite drinking glasses of tap water, your mouth still feels like an absolute desert.
Like you can't get enough water.
Exactly. And you might think, I'm just tired, but your body is actually sounding this massive biological alarm. You are quite literally running out of electricity.
It's a really profound realization when you shift your perspective from just feeling, quote unquote, thirsty or fatigued to understanding that you are experiencing an active systemic electrical failure.
An electrical failure, that sounds intense.
It is, because we tend to view our bodies as these like mechanical engines that just need fluid, right?
Hmm.
Like pouring gas into a tank.
Yeah.
But the reality is that every single thought you have, every beat of your heart, every single step you take to just drag yourself out of bed, all of it relies on microscopic electrical charges firing across your cell membranes.
Wow. Okay.
And those essential electrical charges, they are not powered by water alone. Not at all. They are powered by minerals. Specifically, we're talking about your electrolytes, right?
Mhm.
So sodium, potassium, magnesium, and calcium.
Right. And I feel like here's where the massive disconnect happens for most people. Because when you sweat, whether you're running a marathon or, I don't know, just doing yard work in July, you aren't just losing water.
No, you're bleeding out electricity.
Yes, you are actively bleeding out these essential electrical conductors right through your pores. And I mean, what is our default response in modern society? Most of us try to fix this critical internal failure by reaching into a convenience store fridge for a neon-colored sports drink.
The glowing ones.
Yeah, you know the exact ones we're talking about. They are practically glowing in the dark, and we chug them down thinking, oh, I'm doing my body a favor. But they are just loaded with artificial dyes, heavily refined simple sugars, and completely synthetic minerals that were formulated in a chemical lab.
Right, and sure, they might give you this temporary buzzing sugar rush.
Oh, yeah, you feel great for like 20 minutes.
Exactly, but you invariably crash even harder an hour later, which leaves you feeling honestly worse than when you started.
Which is exactly why the mission for this deep dive into our stack of source material today is so vital for you to hear. We are looking at an entirely different, biologically harmonious paradigm today.
A completely different approach.
Yeah, we are going to explore 20 incredible, naturally electrolyte-rich plants that serve as the Earth's ultimate recovery system.
Nature's pharmacy, basically.
Exactly. The goal here is to show you the science of how you can completely replace those neon synthetic, lab-created sports drinks with real, earth-grown foods. Foods that your body instantly recognizes at a cellular level, readily absorbs without stressing your organs, and utilizes to actively rebuild its internal electrical grid. So, okay, let's unpack this.
Hey, Via.
Because before we just start listing off these amazing plants, we kind of have to look under the hood. We need to understand the fundamental biological mechanics of how your body actually processes hydration.
The why behind it all.
Right, the why. Why are our current default methods for hydrating failing us so miserably? So let's look at those standard sports drinks again. I look at the label on the back of say, a blue sports drink, and it reads like a chemistry experiment.
Blue dye number or whatever.
Yeah, blue dye, high fructose corn syrup, and isolated synthetic potassium chloride. What is physically happening inside the human digestive tract and bloodstream when we just chug one of those after a hard workout?
Well, the central issue really comes down to biological recognition and processing speed. So when you consume a synthetic sports drink, you are hitting your highly sensitive internal systems with a massive, isolated spike of simple sugars and lab-created salts.
Like a shock to the system.
A huge shock. Because these synthetic ingredients aren't bound to any natural dietary fiber, and they lack any organic cellular structures, there was literally nothing to slow them down. They just rush through your stomach lining and straight into your bloodstream all at once.
Oh, wow.
And your body essentially panics at this sudden, overwhelming concentration of unnatural solutes. It creates an extreme spike in your blood sugar, which, gives you that temporary jittery rush we talked about.
Fake energy.
Exactly. But your kidneys, which act as your body's sophisticated filtration system, they immediately recognize this overwhelming influx as a severe chemical imbalance.
It's almost like a bouncer at a nightclub. Like if one or two rowdy people walk in, the bouncer can handle it. But if 50 incredibly rowdy, chaotic people rush the door at the exact same second, the bouncer just panics and starts throwing everyone out into the alley, right?
That is a highly accurate way to visualize it, actually.
Yeah.
Your kidneys go into absolute overdrive, trying to protect your blood from becoming too thick with these isolated synthetic elements. They work frantically to flush it out as quickly as possible.
Just ejecting everyone.
Right. So what happens to you? You experience a brief flash of manufactured energy, followed almost immediately by a severe physiological crash as your body aggressively purges the system. The tragic irony here is that a massive percentage of those synthetic minerals you just paid for end up literally being flushed down the toilet before your depleted muscles ever had a chance to absorb them.
So relying on synthetic sports drinks to hydrate a depleted body is basically like trying to put out a small campfire with a high-pressure industrial fire hose.
Yeah.
Like, you might theoretically extinguish the flame, but you've caused a massive chaotic flood and completely destroyed the campsite in the process. It is just too much, entirely too fast.
And understanding that extreme leads us directly to the other side of the spectrum, which is equally dangerous, if not more so.
Okay, what's that?
The plain water myth.
Oh, right.
Because that people often realize that sugary sports drinks are bad for them, right? So they swing completely in the opposite direction. They think, okay, I'll avoid the sugar and the artificial dyes. I'll just drink a gallon of plain tap water while I work outside.
Which sounds healthy.
It sounds healthy. But if you are sweating heavily and bleeding out those vital electrical conductors, the sodium, the potassium, the magnesium, drinking massive amounts of plain water without replacing those specific electrolytes actually dilutes your blood.
Wait, let's pause there because that is incredibly counterintuitive.
I know, it really is.
We are always told that water is the ultimate hydrator. How can drinking plain water make dehydration worse?
It comes back to the electrical grid. When you introduce huge volumes of plain water into a body that has already sweated out its mineral salts, you are fundamentally changing the ratio of water to electrolytes in your bloodstream.
Ah, the ratio.
Right. You literally wash away the few electrical charges you have left. Clinically, this can lead to a condition known as hyponatremia. Your cells physically cannot function because the fluid outside of them has become too diluted. The electrical signals between your brain and your muscles just start to fail.
So it is exactly like watering down the acid in a car battery. If the battery is running dangerously low on battery acid, and I just start endlessly pouring distilled water into the casing, I am actively diluting whatever acid is left until it literally can no longer hold a charge.
The car absolutely won't start.
Right. So when people are feeling exhausted, muscle cramped, and dizzy, and they are just chugging bottle after bottle of plain water, they are actively making their own exhaustion worse by washing out their remaining electrical charge.
They are. The human body is a delicately balanced ecosystem. And this specific vulnerability is where the biological advantage of plant-based hydration becomes so revolutionary.
Because plants do it differently.
Completely differently. Plants don't just give you plain, empty water. They package that water intricately. It is woven into complex biological structures alongside the essential minerals you need. And crucially, it is bound with fiber and various phytonutrients.
So we are essentially looking at a paradigm where we are supposed to be like eating our water instead of just drinking it from a tap.
That is the core philosophy our sources are pointing toward, yes. I mean, from an evolutionary perspective, our cells evolved over millions of years to recognize, process, and absorb minerals when they are presented in these specific biological matrices.
Makes sense.
When you consume a water-rich, mineral-dense plant, the natural fiber within that plant dictates a slow, steady, highly controlled release of both the water and the electrolytes into your digestive tract and bloodstream.
So no bouncer panicking.
Exactly. It doesn't trigger the bouncer at the nightclub. It doesn't overwhelm your kidneys. Instead, it provides a sustained, perfect, measured drip of hydration that your cells recognize instantly, rather than the isolated synthetic compounds your body treats as an emergency flush situation.
Okay, that makes an incredible amount of sense. It is the difference between a controlled, continuous release capsule and a chaotic emergency flood.
Exactly.
Now that we understand why the plant matrices are fundamentally biologically superior to the neon plastic bottles, let's get into the heavy hitters. We need to look at the foundation. Our sources highlight several specific plants that act as the ultimate direct replacements for those sports drinks, starting with what might be the most famous one.
The coconut.
Yes, specifically the water drawn from a young green coconut.
The young green coconut stands entirely in a league of its own when it comes to natural foundational hydration. Within the biological community, it is frequently referred to as nature's 5E drip.
Wow.
And we should clarify, that is not just marketing hyperbole. The chemical composition of pure coconut water is so remarkably balanced with potassium, sodium, and magnesium that it mimics the electrolyte balance of human blood plasma almost perfectly.
That is genuinely wild to think about. It is like nature spent millions of years designing a perfectly compatible plug-and-play software update for the human bloodstream.
That's a great way to put it.
So practically speaking, when you drink pure green coconut water after a strenuous activity, what are your exhausted cells actually doing with it?
Well, because the chemical profile of the coconut water is so nearly identical to our own internal cellular fluid, your digestive system and your cells don't have to expend extra energy to process or convert it. They simply soak it up like a dry sponge placed in a shallow pool of water.
Just immediate absorption.
Exactly. The vital potassium and magnesium rush seamlessly across the cell membranes and immediately begin repairing the microscopic damage that occurs in your muscle fibers whenever you exercise or place your body under physical stress. It essentially bypasses the usual digestive hurdles and chemical conversions because it is already biologically matched to your physiology.
That is the ultimate biological shortcut.
Okay, so moving to another foundational plant. This one I love because it feels like a simple summer treat, but the sources reframe it as a quote-unquote biological masterpiece. Watermelon.
Oh, watermelon is fascinating.
Obviously, it had the word water right there in the name. We all know it's incredibly hydrating. It is over 90% water by volume. But there's a hidden mechanism here, isn't there? This goes way beyond just being a refreshing snack at a barbecue.
It goes significantly deeper. The water contained within a watermelon isn't just plain water. It is actively suspended in a mineral matrix of magnesium and potassium. But the true magic of watermelon, the reason it is so vital for recovery, lies in a specific amino acid it contains called citrulline.
Citrulline.
Yes. Citrulline is a highly potent natural vasodilator.
Okay, vasodilation. Let's make sure we are clear on that. That means it physically opens things up, right? It dilates the pathways. Precisely the mechanism. When you consume citrulline from the watermelon, it enters your system and sends a chemical signal to the smooth muscle tissues surrounding your blood vessels, instructing them to relax.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and as those muscles relax, your blood vessels physically widen, they expand. So you aren't merely consuming the magnesium and potassium hidden in the fruit. The watermelon is actually actively opening the internal doors of your circulatory system.
That is incredible.
By widening your blood vessels, it allows those essential minerals to rush directly and much more rapidly into your deeply fatigued muscles. It literally builds the delivery route for its own payload.
It's like the watermelon is a brilliant logistics manager.
Yes.
Like it sends an advanced team ahead to clear all the traffic off the highway so that the supply trucks carrying the minerals can get straight to the destination without hitting a single red light. That is just brilliant natural engineering.
The efficiency of these plant matrices is really unparalleled.
Now, this next foundational plant is where I have to admit I've had my mind completely changed by our sources. Celery.
Celery.
I always dismiss celery as just crunchy, useless water. To me, it seemed nutritionally void, just a fibrous stick you put peanut butter on for kids. I could never fathom how celery could genuinely hydrate a person on a cellular level. It's basically just string and water.
It is a very common misconception. What makes celery so crucial in this conversation is the concept of natural cluster salts.
Cluster salts.
Yeah. When people hear that celery contains sodium, they instinctively picture the white, highly processed granular table salt sitting in the shaker on their kitchen counter.
Right, that's exactly what I think of.
But those are fundamentally chemically different substances. Standard table salt is highly processed, heavily refined, isolated sodium chloride. Celery, on the other hand, contains organic, naturally occurring cluster salts. These are complex sodium compounds that remain bound to trace minerals and structured water in a living state.
Wait, so because it's a cluster bound to other things, it acts completely differently inside the human body compared to the isolated table salt?
Entirely differently. The organic sodium cluster salts in celery act as a literal, powerful physiological magnet inside your body.
A magnet.
Yes. When you consume celery juice or chew the raw stalks, these cluster salts travel into your bloodstream and literally draw free-floating water deep into your cells. But more importantly than just drawing it in, they lock it there.
Locking it in. Why does that matter so much?
Because a significant portion of beginner dehydration, the kind that causes those agonizing, throbbing headaches in the middle of the afternoon, happens because the water you drank isn't actually staying inside the cell membrane.
Where is it going?
It is drifting aimlessly in the interstitial spaces between your cells where it does you no good. Celery's organic sodium specifically pulls that drifting water through the cell membrane and anchors it inside, physically preventing the cellular dehydration that triggers those massive headaches.
That completely upends how I view celery. It is not just crunchy water. It is a cellular water magnet.
What's fascinating here is that the simplest foods often have the most complex internal mechanisms.
So true. So look at the foundation we have built so far. We've got coconut water perfectly matching the chemical makeup of our blood, watermelon actively opening the blood vessels to speed up delivery, and celery acting as a magnet to lock the water deep into the cells.
An incredibly powerful biological trio.
It really is. But our sources make a massive point about timing. Knowing what the plants do is only half the battle. You need to understand when to consume these specific matrices. So let's map out the daily routine, chronologically, starting from the exact moment you wake up.
The timing is crucial because your body's metabolic state, its hormone levels, and its fundamental hydration needs fluctuate dramatically as you move through your daily circadian rhythms.
Okay, let's look at the morning protocol.
Right. Imagine you have just been asleep for 8 solid hours. During that entire time, your body has been working, repairing, and breathing, but you haven't consumed a single drop of water. By definition, every human being wakes up in a state of clinical dehydration.
Wow.
Your internal electrical battery is blinking red. It is low.
And what do 90% of us do? We stumble blindly into the kitchen and pour a massive steaming cup of hot coffee, which, biologically speaking, is a diuretic. We take a completely dehydrated system, a battery that is running on fumes, and we immediately try to wring even more fluid out of it.
It's a tremendous shock to the system. You are forcing a physiological engine that is already desperately low on its electrical charge to run in overdrive. Your cortisol levels are naturally high in the morning to wake you up, and the caffeine exacerbates that stress.
So what should we do instead?
Well, instead of shocking the system, the sources suggest introducing a specific plant pairing to rebuild the charge: spinach and Swiss chard.
Leafy greens for breakfast.
Yes. Now, obviously, we have to be realistic. Nobody wants to sit down at 7 in the morning and chew through a massive dry bowl of raw spinach leaves.
Yeah, that sounds like a miserable way to start a Tuesday.
Exactly. So the culinary application matters here. The method suggested is blending, taking a generous handful of raw spinach and perhaps some Swiss chard and blending it into a morning glass of water or a fruit smoothie.
Okay, I can do a smoothie. Let's look at the spinach first. What's it doing?
Spinach introduces a massive, highly bioavailable, immediate dose of organic magnesium. Magnesium is clinically recognized across the medical field as the ultimate relaxation mineral. It's deeply responsible for soothing and regulating your nervous system.
Oh, that makes sense.
If you ever wake up feeling incredibly stiff, or if you are prone to those agonizing sharp muscle cramps that catch you completely off guard when you stretch your legs in bed, that is your nervous system actively misfiring due to a severe lack of magnesium.
So by getting that bioavailable magnesium first thing in the morning, the spinach actively calms the erratic electrical grid. It smooths out the misfires. And then what does the Swiss chard bring to the table?
Swiss chard is an absolute titan when it comes to calcium and potassium. By blending these two incredibly dense leafy greens with water first thing in the morning, the blades of the blender are mechanically doing what your teeth might struggle to do.
Breaking it down?
Right. They are breaking down the tough cellular walls of the leaves just enough to create a highly bioavailable liquid matrix. You are literally flooding your empty digestive tract with pure, recognizable, bioavailable electricity right as your body wakes up.
Setting the foundation.
Exactly. You are setting an unshakable foundation of hydration and nervous system regulation before you introduce any daily stressors like your commute, your inbox, or even that cup of coffee.
Okay, so we've successfully charged the battery and calmed the nervous system first thing in the morning. Now, let's fast forward. We move into the afternoon rebuild.
The afternoon slump.
Yeah, let's say you've been at work all day. Maybe you just finished a grueling midday workout, or you've just survived a highly stressful adrenaline-fueled meeting. Your body has been rapidly burning through its morning electrical charge. The sources introduced two new plants for this specific phase: the sweet potato and the avocado.
Two powerhouses.
Now, I have to play devil's advocate here. Why does the timing matter so much? Why couldn't I just take the spinach, the chard, the sweet potato, and the avocado, throw them all into a giant, horrific-tasting blender at noon, chug it, and be done with my hydration chores for the day?
The reason you cannot do that comes back to matching the specific biological fuel to the specific biological task at hand. In the early morning, your system is completely empty and requires gentle, rapid absorption to wake up the nervous system.
Yeah, right.
However, in the mid to late afternoon, especially post-stress or post-workout, your body shifts into a heavy tissue rebuilding phase.
Yeah.
You have literally torn microscopic fibers in your skeletal muscles through exertion.
So the ERs change.
Exactly. A quick, easily digested liquid rush of magnesium won't sustain that heavy structural repair process. You need heavier, much more sustaining plant matrices to do the heavy lifting.
Okay, so this is where the sweet potato steps in. Now, everyone in the fitness world talks about eating bananas for potassium to prevent cramps, but the sources deliberately highlight the sweet potato over the banana for this heavy afternoon rebuilding phase. Why?
Because, surprisingly to many, a sweet potato actually contains a significantly higher density of potassium than a standard banana.
Wait, really? More than a banana?
Yes, significantly more. When you bake a sweet potato and consume it after strenuous physical activity, that incredibly dense concentration of potassium is forced directly into your exhausted muscle cells. And we have to remember the golden rule of cellular electrolytes.
Which is?
Where the minerals go, well, water inevitably follows. The potassium from the sweet potato aggressively pulls surrounding water with it deep into the torn muscle tissues, literally plumping them up from the inside and dramatically speeding up the physical repair process of those microscopic tears.
But the sweet potato isn't operating in a vacuum here. The The sources say we must pair it with the avocado. And the biological reason for this specific pairing is fascinating to me. Avocados are globally known for their healthy fats, and yes, they are also packed with their own magnesium and potassium. But the fats themselves serve a very specific, almost mechanical purpose in the gut during this pairing.
They do. The dense, healthy fats found in an avocado serve a vital function. They deliberately slow down your gastric emptying.
They hit the brakes.
They apply the brakes to your digestive process.
Yeah.
The human small intestine is where the vast majority of nutrient absorption takes place. If your digestion moves too rapidly, like when you chug a liquid sports drink, your intestines simply do not have the physical time to absorb all the passing minerals.
It just rushes right past them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
By pairing the dense, heavy potassium of the sweet potato with the thick fats of the avocado, you slow the entire transit time of your gut down just enough to ensure perfect, maximal intestinal absorption of every single electrolyte.
It is like you are intentionally creating a biological traffic jam in your gut just to make absolutely sure the intestinal toll booth operators have enough time to collect all the minerals from the passing cars. That is incredible.
That's a perfect analogy.
But let's be real. What if you don't have access to an oven at 2 p.m.? What if you are on a job site or in a car and you don't have the time to bake a sweet potato and slice an avocado? You are on the go. This brings us to the on-the-go synergy. And here's where the banana finally makes its appearance. But crucially, it is paired with the orange.
Right. The banana is globally famous for a very good reason. It is incredibly dense, it comes in its own biodegradable packaging, making it highly portable, and it is a very easy to digest source of quick potassium.
The ultimate convenience food.
Exactly. If you are on a run and you feel a sharp cramp coming on, eating a banana can stop that muscular misfire dead in its tracks. But if you want to elevate that biological intervention from merely stopping a cramp to actually repairing the structural damage in the body, you must pair it with the orange.
Right, because the orange brings a massive immediate hit of vitamin C. And normally, we only ever think of vitamin C during cold and flu season. We think of it purely as an immune system booster. But in this specific pairing, the sources explain that the vitamin C is doing heavy structural work.
That touches on a crucial mechanism that is rarely discussed. When you combine the high, bioavailable dose of vitamin C from the orange with the calcium potassium from the banana, a very specific, remarkable chemical reaction is catalyzed in the body.
What happens?
Your body actively uses that vitamin C to synthesize new collagen. While potassium and calcium are busy hydrating the muscle tissue and stopping the cramps, the newly synthesized collagen actually goes to work physically repairing the torn, overstressed tendons and ligaments that you damaged during your workout or your busy day.
Wow, so they work together.
Yes. The physical synergy between the two distinct plants is what triggers the deep structural repair of your connective tissue.
So, look at the journey we've taken the body on so far. We've soothed and awakened the nervous system in the morning with leafy greens. We've heavily rebuilt the torn muscle tissues in the afternoon with the sweet potato and avocado traffic jam. And we've repaired the tendons on the go with the banana and orange.
A full day of recovery.
Exactly. Now we transition to the evening cool down. The sun is going down, the body's biological needs completely shift gears. We are moving from rebuilding to flushing and cooling. And this introduces a massive, pervasive culinary trap that so many well-meaning people fall into. But let's start with the plants first. Cucumber, zucchini, and pomegranate.
As you approach the evening hours, your biology demands that your core body temperature must drop in order to initiate the chemical cascades required for deep restorative sleep.
Makes sense. You need to cool off to sleep.
Right. If your core is too hot, or if your muscle tissues are still completely saturated with the acidic inflammatory byproducts of the day's stress, your sleep architecture will be shallow, fragmented, and ultimately unrefreshing.
We've all had those restless nights.
Exactly. Cucumber and zucchini are extremely high-water, high-mineral vegetables. When you consume them in the evening, for instance, aggressively slicing raw cucumber into your dinner water, or spiralizing raw zucchini into cold noodles, that specific high-water, mineral-rich matrix physically helps to pull heat from your core and drop your body temperature.
And it acts as a cellular flush, right? It washes out the accumulated metabolic waste. I always hear athletes talking about lactic acid building up in the muscles and causing that deep, lingering, heavy soreness the next day.
The biology takes it a step further. The abundant, structured water paired with the natural phosphorus and potassium found in cucumbers and zucchini acts like an internal cellular power wash.
A power wash. I love that.
As it circulates, it actively flushes that accumulated lactic acid out of your muscle tissues and into your bloodstream, so your kidneys can gently filter it out before you go to sleep.
So you're cleaning house while you sleep.
Exactly. And then you cap off that evening recovery routine with a pomegranate. Whether you drink a small glass of pure tart pomegranate juice or eat the raw seeds, you are delivering a targeted rush of powerful antioxidants.
And what are the antioxidants specifically targeting in the evening?
They actively seek out and reduce the physical inflammation in your joints that naturally accumulated from the sheer mechanics of the day's movement. Meanwhile, the dense potassium in the pomegranate specifically targets the cardiac tissue, ensuring your heart rate remains remarkably steady, slow, and calm as you drift into that necessary deep sleep cycle.
But here is where it gets incredibly dangerous. The crucial mistake. We have this beautiful, fresh zucchini, absolutely full of bioavailable potassium and phosphorus, perfectly designed to flush our system and drop our core temperature. And what do so many of us do?
The boiling.
Yes. We chop it up, we throw it into a metal pot full of boiling water, we violently boil it for 10 to 15 minutes, we pull out the sad, mushy zucchini, and we dump the boiling water right down the sink drain. What have we biologically just done to our recovery process?
You have literally poured your electrical recovery straight down the drain. It is a tragedy of modern cooking. Electrolytes, the potassium, the magnesium, the sodium, are inherently water-soluble.
Which means they dissolve.
Exactly. When you subject these delicate, beautifully structured plant matrices to the harsh, violent thermodynamic process of boiling water, the cellular walls of the plant rupture entirely. And because the minerals are water-soluble, they rapidly leach out of the plant tissue and dissolve entirely into the surrounding boiling water.
So boiling vegetables is basically like realizing you accidentally left a massive wad of cash in your jeans pockets when you ran them through a heavy-duty washing machine cycle.
Oh, that hurts just thinking about it.
Right. Like, sure, the physical structure of the jeans survives the wash. You can dry them and still wear the pants. But the actual tangible value that you cared about inside the pockets has been completely washed away and destroyed.
That is an exceptionally accurate way to frame it. The true essence of health, especially when we are relying on plant-based electrical recovery, isn't solely about what food you purchase at the grocery store. It is intricately, fundamentally tied to how your culinary preparation preserves the plant's cellular integrity.
The preparation is everything.
If you destroy the microscopic cellular integrity of the food through violent boiling, you completely lose the electrical charge. To preserve that vital charge, you must fiercely advocate for steaming your vegetables lightly so they don't sit in water, roasting them to preserve the structures, or ideally, consuming them completely raw in salads or smoothies. You have to ensure the electricity remains locked inside the food's biological matrix until it physically reaches your stomach acids.
That is such a vital warning for anyone trying to eat healthier. Stop boiling your electricity. Okay, so we've mastered the foundational daily routine, we know the timing, and we know not to boil the good stuff. Now, the source material takes us into what they refer to as advanced biohacking.
This is where it gets really fun.
It does. This is for the listeners who want to extract every single microscopic drop of cellular energy through highly specific, scientifically backed food pairings. Let's look at the concept of mineral pairing. This brings us to kale and the tomato.
Kale has earned its reputation as a nutritional titan. The sheer density of calcium, magnesium, and trace minerals inside a single dark green kale leaf is almost staggering.
But there's a catch.
There is. However, nature has locked those incredibly vital minerals behind incredibly tough, fibrous cellular walls made of dense cellulose. For many people, eating a bowl of raw kale is quite literally like trying to chew on wet cardboard, and their natural stomach acid alone severely struggles to fully break down those tough cellulose walls to actually access the minerals hidden inside.
Right, I've experienced that. You eat a huge, healthy-looking raw kale salad, your jaw gets tired from chewing, and an hour later you feel heavily bloated because you just digested a tiny fraction of it. The rest is just sitting there. So how do we actually get to the minerals locked inside the kale?
You have to introduce a chemical key. And in this pairing, that key is the tomato. Tomatoes are incredibly rich in bioavailable potassium themselves, but their true hidden power in this specific pairing lies in their natural acidity.
The acid.
Yes. When you combine raw kale with fresh tomatoes, perhaps by tossing them together and letting them sit for a few minutes, the natural acidic compounds from the tomato physically attack and begin to dissolve the tough cellular walls of the kale leaf before you even take a bite.
Here's where the biology gets really fascinating. It's like the kale leaf is a massive, impenetrable bank vault, completely full of gold, the gold being the calcium and magnesium. But the heavy vault door is locked entirely shut, and your stomach acid doesn't know the combination.
Right.
The tomato acts as the master lockpick. You introduce the acidity of the tomato, it chemically cracks the vault door wide open, and suddenly your digestive tract has full, unhindered access to the treasure inside. The sources indicate this specific acidic pairing can literally double the nutrient absorption compared to eating kale alone.
It can easily double it, because you are no longer relying solely on your own internal digestive enzymes, which might be weak, diluted, or compromised by stress to do all the heavy cellular lifting. You are brilliantly using the innate chemical properties of one specific plant to effectively pre-digest the structural defenses of another plant.
That is biohacking in its purest form. Now let's pivot and talk about deep endurance. We mentioned earlier that the ultimate goal of plant matrices is a slow, sustained release, not a massive, chaotic spike like a sports drink. And the absolute ultimate expression of this biological slow-release mechanism is what the sources call the Aztec Endurance Gel.
Yes, the chia seeds.
This introduces chia seeds and hemp hearts. Now, I see chia seeds sprinkled in fancy puddings at cafes all the time, but the historical context here is intense. The sources mention Aztec warriors utilizing these tiny seeds for grueling, multi-day marches across the empire. What is the actual physical mechanism of the chia seed that provides that level of endurance?
The chia seed is truly a profound biological marvel. If you look at it in its dry, dormant state, it is just a tiny, hard, unassuming little seed. But when you introduce that seed to water, it undergoes a radical, rapid physical transformation. The outer layer of the chia seed is incredibly hydrophilic, meaning it strongly attracts and binds to water molecules.
Okay, so it pulls water in.
Exactly. When soaked, it rapidly absorbs the surrounding water and physically expands up to 10 times its original dry size, creating a thick, robust, gelatinous barrier entirely around itself.
I have to admit that gelatinous texture is exactly why some people avoid them. It sounds like you're drinking a cup full of frog spawn, but that weird gel is actually the secret to the endurance, isn't it?
It is the entire secret. That hydrophilic gel is packed incredibly tightly with calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, and structured water. But the physiological key is how your body's digestive enzymes interact with that specific gel. Your digestive system simply cannot break down that gelatinous barrier quickly. It takes immense biological time. So when you consume fully hydrated chia seeds, your body is forced to digest them incredibly slowly, meticulously breaking down the gel over the course of up to 12 full hours.
This is the absolute antithesis of the sports drink. If the synthetic sports drink is a massive, chaotic flood that your panicked kidneys immediately flush out into the alley, the chia seed gel is the exact opposite.
It is vastly biologically superior for human endurance. Instead of a single massive spike of hydration that leaves you depleted an hour later, the slowly digesting chia seed provides a continuous, highly controlled internal IV drip of hydration and essential minerals that lasts throughout an entire grueling workday or a massive endurance event.
A 12-hour drip.
Yes, because the release is so slow and steady, your blood sugar never spikes, your kidneys are never overwhelmed, and your cellular battery never runs dry.
And then the sources say we pair that slow-release chia gel with the hemp hearts. Why add the hemp?
The hemp hearts provide the missing pieces for active recovery during exertion. They deliver a massive, immediate dose of raw, easily digestible plant protein and an extra surge of magnesium.
So they're repairing while the chia hydrates.
Exactly. So if you picture the internal mechanics, while the chia seed gel is perfectly handling the long-term 12-hour hydration drip, ensuring you don't run out of water, the protein from the hemp parts is actively circulating in the blood, finding and repairing the microscopic tears in your muscle fibers the very moment they happen.
The sources share this incredible, detailed, real-world application of this exact pairing. They tell the story of a construction worker named David. Let's really paint the picture of what David was going through, because it represents so many people.
The very common scenario.
Yeah. David works 8, sometimes 10 hours a day, performing intense physical labor out in the blazing, brutal summer heat. For years, he simply did what everyone else on the job site did. He relied heavily on those neon chemical sports drinks.
Just chugging them all day.
Right. He would chug a glowing blue plastic bottle, he'd get that massive sugar rush and feel energized for exactly 30 minutes. But then the inevitable physiological crash would hit hard. His kidneys would frantically flush the synthetic system. By 3 o'clock in the afternoon, every single day, he's suffering from a throbbing, debilitating dehydration headache because his brain is literally shrinking from lack of fluid. And worse, he's waking up at 2 a.m. with his calf muscles locking up in agonizing, screaming cramps. These are the classic textbook symptoms of a completely empty internal battery.
And then David implements this specific advanced biohacking strategy. He completely ditches the chemical drinks. He removes the synthetic spikes from his life entirely. He switches his daily routine to carry a large insulated thermos filled with chilled water, heavily soaked chia seeds, and just a small dash of natural, unrefined rock salt.
A huge shift.
The physiological shift he experiences is profound and immediate. Because of the slow digesting gelatinous nature of the chia seeds, his blood sugar never violently spikes. There is no panic response from his kidneys, no bouncer throwing everything out. Instead, as he sweats out his electrolytes swinging a hammer on the hot construction site, the chia seeds in his gut are slowly, perfectly, continuously releasing structured water and minerals back into his bloodstream at the exact rate he is losing them.
The continuous 5E drip, perfectly matching his sweat rate.
Exactly that equilibrium. The debilitating afternoon headaches completely vanished because his brain tissue was no longer being starved of intracellular fluid. His overall energy levels flatlined, but in the best possible way, they completely stabilized, providing a steady hum of energy with absolutely no peaks and valleys.
That's amazing.
And most importantly, because his internal electrical grid was now fully charged with the slow-drip magnesium and calcium from the chia and the salt, the terrifying, agonizing night cramps stopped completely.
That case study is absolute proof that hydration is not just a game of volume. It's not just about getting massive amounts of water in it. It is almost entirely about regulating the speed at which the water and the minerals are released into the system.
Right.
The chia seed is the ultimate biological regulator.
It really is.
Okay, we are getting into the final tier of our deep dive here. We are moving into elite blood flow and ocean minerals. For the absolute peak physical performance, the sources suggest we have to look beyond our typical terrestrial garden soil. We have to look to extreme physiological manipulation and deep ocean sourcing. This brings us to kelp, an edible seaweed.
Kelp is fantastic.
Now, if we can get all these minerals from spinach and sweet potatoes, why on earth do we need to go to the bottom of the ocean for our electrolytes?
We have to turn to the ocean because of the stark, unfortunate reality of modern commercial agriculture. The terrestrial plants we grow on land, the spinach, the tomatoes, the sweet potatoes, are only ever as nutrient-dense as the specific soil they are grown in.
Right.
And unfortunately, decades of highly aggressive monocrop farming practices have severely depleted the Earth's topsoil of its natural trace minerals. The plant simply cannot pull up magnesium or iodine if it physically isn't present in the dirt anymore. But the deep ocean is an entirely different story.
Right, because the ocean hasn't been overfarmed in the same way. The ocean is basically a giant, ancient, undisturbed mineral soup.
Precisely. The ocean contains a full-spectrum, completely uncompromised profile of every single trace mineral found on Earth. Seaweed, like kelp, grows directly within this incredibly dense mineral bath. It absorbs massive, natural, uncompromised quantities of natural iodine, sodium, and magnesium directly from the water.
So it's pure.
Yes. When you consume even a small amount of dried kelp, you are entirely bypassing the depleted terrestrial soils of modern farms and getting an unparalleled, remarkably dense hit of these trace elements. And the iodine found in kelp specifically is absolutely critical for human energy.
What does the iodine do?
It deeply, directly nourishes the thyroid gland. And your thyroid is the master biological control center that dictates and regulates your entire metabolism and overall energy output. If your thyroid is starved of iodine, your battery won't hold a charge, and no amount of deep sleep will ever cure your fatigue.
So kelp ensures that the master control center itself has its highly specific, high-grade fuel. That is a powerful addition to the protocol. Now let's talk about the final heavy hitter for elite performance. This one is all about extreme vasodilation again, taking the blood vessel opening concept we learned with the watermelon, but cranking it up to an absolute extreme clinical level. Beetroot.
Beetroot is a massive favorite among elite world-class endurance athletes, and the specific biology behind how it functions is fascinating. Beetroot is incredibly dense with naturally occurring compounds called nitrates. Right. When you consume beetroot, whether you eat it slowly roasted or drink the concentrated dark red juice, your body initiates a rapid chemical conversion. It takes those naturally occurring nitrates from the root and converts them directly into a gas called nitric oxide, right there in your bloodstream.
Nitric oxide, we hear about this in bodybuilding circles all the time. This is the heavy-duty vasodilator.
It is the ultimate vasodilator. Nitric oxide physically, dramatically forces your blood vessels to widen to their maximum healthy capacity.
I love the analogy the sources use to explain this mechanism. Imagine your circulatory system right now is a narrow, winding, one-lane dirt country road.
A very bumpy road.
Exactly. The nutrient trucks, the heavy trucks carrying the potassium, the magnesium, the calcium you just carefully curated from the kelp and the chia seeds, they're stuck in terrible traffic on this dirt road. They are moving painfully slowly, trying desperately to get to the exhausted, screaming muscle fibers in your calf.
Just crawling along.
But then you consume the beetroot juice. The nitric oxide hits the system, and it's like instantly, magically turning that narrow dirt road into a massive, freshly paved, 6-lane superhighway.
That is exactly what happens on a microscopic cellular level. It's a profound concept. It's about actively upgrading the structural wiring of your electrical grid. It's not enough just to have the electricity, the high-quality minerals floating aimlessly around in your system. You have to be able to deliver that power efficiently, rapidly, and precisely to where it is needed most.
You need the infrastructure.
Yes. By forcing the blood vessels wide open, the beetroot ensures that all those highly curated electrolytes race directly to the exact muscle fibers that are fatigued, bypassing any bottlenecks. The clinical result of this vasodilation is that your muscular recovery time can literally be cut in half simply because the internal delivery system has been vastly optimized.
It is just mind-blowing how these specific plant matrices interact with our incredibly specific human physiology. Beetroot builds the 6-lane highway, chia seeds provide the slow-release cargo trucks, and kelp provides the absolute highest quality mineral cargo available on Earth. So we are finally down to the last two plants on the list, the catalysts, the lemon and mint.
The finishing touches.
Yes, and this perfectly brings us to the action plan. Because, as our sources astutely point out, to avoid completely overwhelming you, the listener, with just a dizzying list of 20 different plants to memorize, we need to land the plane. We need a concrete, actionable, simple summary that you can actually use in your kitchen tomorrow morning. Let's look at these final catalysts first. What exactly makes the lemon and the mint catalysts rather than just hydrators?
Well, in chemistry, catalyst is a substance that precipitates, accelerates, or enables a reaction to occur more efficiently. You obviously aren't going to sit down and eat a whole raw lemon like an apple to hydrate yourself.
I definitely wouldn't recommend that.
No, but squeezing the fresh juice of a lemon into your daily water provides a highly bioavailable, instantly recognizable form of potassium. More importantly, it actively helps alkalize your internal environment.
Alkalize it, even though lemons are acidic.
Yes, exactly. Even though a lemon is highly acidic outside the body, once it is metabolized by your digestive system, it has a profound alkalizing effect. It balances your blood's pH levels, which physically makes your cellular environment far more receptive and efficient at absorbing all the other minerals you're consuming.
It sets the stage. And the mint.
Tossing crushed, fresh mint leaves into your water or mixing them into your meals provides crucial trace amounts of the mineral manganese. But its primary role as a biological catalyst is physiological mint instantly, powerfully soothes the delicate mucosal lining of your digestive tract.
Oh, that's nice.
It actively calms any lingering low-grade inflammation in your stomach and your intestines. By doing so, it perfectly primes your stomach and your gut to absorb every single mineral you are consuming from the other complex plants. It prepares the biological canvas so nothing is wasted.
So, after exploring all the biology, all the cell walls, the Aztec history, and the kidney filtration, what does this all mean for you, the listener? What do you do when you wake up tomorrow morning? You've got 20 highly effective plants. It sounds like a massive grocery list, but the sources distill all of this complex biology into a brilliant, highly simple 3-step action plan.
It's very easy to implement.
Let's walk through it together. Step 1, the morning flush.
We discussed the rationale for this earlier. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up, before you even look at your coffee maker or your phone, you take a tall glass of room temperature water. You squeeze in half of our 19th plant, the lemon. You add a small pinch of high-quality sea salt, absolutely not the processed table salt, but real sea salt, to ensure you get the trace minerals, and you drink it.
It sounds almost too simple to be effective.
It is highly simple to execute, but biologically profound in its impact. By doing this, you are instantly breaking your overnight fast, ending that stressful 8-hour dehydration period with a pure, highly targeted shot of electrical energy. The lemon alkalizes the environment and provides the potassium, while the sea salt provides the conductive sodium.
And it wakes you up.
It wakes up your brain's neurons and your muscle tissues naturally, physically resetting the electrical grid without ever relying on the false, dehydrating, jittery stimulation of a caffeine spike.
That is step 1. Okay, step 2. The midday matrix. This is your lunch protocol. The sources say to purposefully incorporate at least 3 of the high-water, mineral-dense plants. You build a strong base of spinach or kale, remembering to add our acidic lockpick, the tomato, to break down the kale's vault doors. You add heavily sliced, water-rich cucumbers, and you top it with half an avocado for the fats.
A perfect combination.
Now, I love how enthusiastically the sources reframe this meal. You have to stop thinking that you are just eating a boring, obligatory salad. What are you actually biologically constructing in your gut here?
You are consciously, methodically constructing a high-density, slow-release electrolyte capsule right inside your stomach. That is exactly how you should view this specific combination of foods. The kale and spinach provide the dense, heavy payload of magnesium and calcium. The cucumbers provide the structured water and the phosphorus to act as a flush.
The tomatoes are the key.
The tomatoes act as the chemical key to break down the tough cellular walls so you can actually access the payload. And the avocado provides the heavy fats to purposefully slow down your digestion, creating that perfect intestinal traffic jam.
It's the ultimate sustained release system. You are building a slow-release capsule in your stomach that will keep your brain completely hydrated, intensely focused, and electrically charged right through that dreaded 3 p.m. afternoon slump where everyone else is crashing. It completely, biologically eliminates the need to reach for a sugary energy drink or a second cup of coffee.
Precisely. You have bypassed the crash entirely. Which brings us to the final step, step 3, the evening repair. At the end of a long, stressful day or after your evening workout, the psychological instinct is very often to reach for heavy, highly processed comfort foods. Foods that are completely packed with isolated, refined sodium.
Right, sitting on the couch with a huge bowl of excessively salty potato chips, which, based on everything we've learned today about osmosis and cell walls, just violently pulls all the remaining structured water completely out of your cells, drifts it into the interstitial spaces, and dehydrates you even further before bed.
That is exactly the physiological consequence. Instead, your evening action plan must focus entirely on the rebuild and cool down phase. You consume a baked sweet potato to force heavy potassium deep into the torn muscle tissues. You incorporate steamed zucchini, crucially steamed, absolutely not boiled, to preserve the charge, to actively flush the day's metabolic waste and lactic acid. And you finish with a refreshing small glass of tart cherry or pomegranate juice.
This specific combination sends a literal chemical signal to your nervous system, right? It tells the body the war is over.
It does. It chemically signals to your autonomic nervous system that the stress and the fight or flight of the day have officially concluded.
Yeah.
It floods your body with the profoundly relaxing magnesium and potassium it desperately needs to physically drop your core body temperature, slow your heart rate, and smoothly, naturally transition your brain into a state of deep, restorative, physically repairing sleep.
If we pull back and connect all of this to the bigger picture, you now hold the blueprint. For far too long, we have been tricked by brilliant billion-dollar marketing campaigns into blindly believing that glowing, sugary synthetic drinks in plastic bottles are the only modern scientific way to recover from physical exertion.
It's a massive illusion.
We've been told we are flawed machines that desperately need lab-created chemical solutions just to survive a workout. But the absolute truth, revealed by looking at the biology, is that your body is this incredibly complex, highly sophisticated machine. It is a biological electrical grid that evolved meticulously over millions of years alongside the natural organic elements of the earth.
Perfectly adapted.
Exactly. We are perfectly, astonishingly adapted to the specific chemical matrices, the organic cluster salts, and the deep ocean trace minerals of our home planet. From the citrulline in the watermelon brilliantly opening the blood vessels, to the acidic lock-picking of the tomatoes breaking down the kale's defenses, to the chia seeds acting as a slow-release IV drip. It is all perfectly, flawlessly matched. You have 20 incredibly powerful tools at your disposal in nature's pharmacy. You have the power to completely ditch the artificial chemicals and run your bodily machine exactly the way nature intended it to run.
It is a truly profound realization of our deep, inescapable biological connection to the Earth's specific biosphere. And, exploring these precise mechanisms leaves me with a rather provocative thought, something that pushes the boundaries of everything we've meticulously detailed today.
Ooh, lay it on me.
Well, we have just spent this entire deep dive thoroughly explaining how our internal electrical grid, our very ability to think clearly, move our muscles, and pump blood through our veins, is intimately, inextricably tethered to the specific topsoil, the deep ocean trace minerals, and the highly unique plant biology of Earth. We absolutely require this precise earthly chemistry to keep our internal lights on.
Oh, I see exactly where you're going with this, and it's a massive concept.
It forces a massive question. So
Nah.
what happens when humanity eventually attempts to colonize extreme environments where these highly specific, perfectly evolved biological matrices simply do not exist?
Like space.
Think about the aggressive push for Mars colonization or long-term deep space exploration. If our bodies, our cell walls, and our kidneys are this perfectly intricately adapted to the organic cluster salts of celery, the slow-release hydration of chia seeds grown in our specific gravity, and the trace elements of our specific oceans, are we fundamentally biologically tethered to this planet?
That is wild.
Can we truly sustain our delicate internal electrical grids long-term, using only synthetic lab-created substitutes on a dead alien world? Or will we find that our human physiology absolutely demands the living, breathing chemistry of Earth just to survive? It raises a profound, almost existential question about the true biological limits of human expansion into the stars.
That is a staggering, slightly terrifying thought to end on. If we leave the Earth, we literally leave our biological battery chargers behind. We might be more tethered to the dirt and the oceans than we ever wanted to admit. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into nature's electrical grid. We hope this knowledge empowers you to look at your hydration, your fatigue, and your dinner plate in a completely new, biologically aware way. Tomorrow morning, before the world demands your energy, skip the coffee. Try the morning flush with the lemon and the sea salt, and just observe how your body's electricity responds to being treated the way it evolved to be treated. Stay curious, stay hydrated, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.